Synopsis of the Bible, Books of the Bible by J. N. Darby, Genesis, chapters 29 through 35. Jacob's two wives, the Gentiles and Israel. I have no doubt that in the two wives, as I have said, we have the Gentiles and Israel. Rachel, first loved on the earth, but not possessed. But Leah, the first fruit, mother of children. Rachel had children also afterwards on the earth. Rachel, as representing the Jews and the mother of Joseph, and later of Benjamin, that is, of the suffering Christ, glorified among the Gentiles, while rejected of Israel, and of the reigning Christ, the son of the mother of sorrow, but of his father's right hand. The deceiver deceived but preserved according to God's promise. Jacob, personal history, is a sad tale of deceit and wrong done to him. But God, as he has promised, preserved him throughout. What a difference from Eliezer and Abraham were the power and the character of the Holy Ghost. It seems he provided and preserved, but it is Jacob's history. He is a bitter deceiver, as he has deceived, but preserved according to the promise and the return of Jacob. The host of God came to meet him. He received a new and wonderful proof of God's mighty and gracious care, which should have recalled Bethel to him. But this does not remove his terror. He must anew use the means of unbelief. This and sent children and wives and all on before, and present as a present to appease Esau. But his strength was not there. God would not leave him in the hands of Esau, but he dealt with him himself. He wrestled with him, sustained at the same time his faith and the wrestling, and after made him feel his weakness, and that of all his life gives him in weakness the place and part of victory. He is a prince with God, and prevails with God and with men. Victory and conflict with God, who is dealing with him, but no revelation of or communion with him. The dealings of God with the soul who does not walk with him. This is a wonderful scene. The dealings of God with souls that does not walk with him. It is not, however, the claim communion of Abraham with Jehovah. Abraham interceded for others instead of wrestling for himself. So also, through God given Jacob a name, and so far recognized his relationship with himself, he does not reveal to Jacob his name as he had done with Abraham. Jacob too still employed his deceitful ways, for he had no thought of going to Seir, as he said, but he is delivered from Esau and from Laban, and at last establishes himself in Shechem, buying land where he ought to have remained a stranger. God removes him out of it, uh, but by strange and humbling circumstances, still God fears the nations preserved him. He is not yet back to the point where God has given him the promise and assurance of the blessings. That was at Bethel. Here, however, he was able to build an altar, using the names which exalt his own position, and which took the ground of the blessing which had been granted to him. An act of faith, it is true, but which confines itself to the blessings instead of raising up to the blesser. This indeed he was not properly able to do yet. God was dealing with him, and he was, in a measure, thinking of God, but proper communion was not there. So it is like the case with us. However, God leads him onward, and now tells him to go up to the place where he had set out, and there build an altar, where he had entered into a covenant with God, and faithful God, who had been with him in the way in which he went. But when a discovery is made here, he must now meet God himself, and not simply be dealt with for his good. God's name still unknown, no full revelation of him, and this is a great difference. Now he must meet him. He remembers, he knows it well, although he paid no attention to it until he had to meet God. They were false gods in his family, meeting God himself, not in secret and mysteries, struggled, but face to face, so to speak, bringing all to light. He purifies himself, and the false gods are removed, and he goes up to Bethel. There God reveals himself openly to him, the grace making known his name, unasked to him as to Abraham, and confers upon him anew the name of Israel, as if he had not received it before. Rachel gives birth to him who, child of his mother's sorrow, is the son of his father's right hand, remarkable type of Christ the Lord. For this is figuratively the establishment of the promise in power in his person through the former standing of Israel, represented by Rachel, must disappear, but her remembrance is kept up in the land.